Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. If you just finished understanding the basics of poker, it's time to understand the basics of humans. Here are a few basic poker tells and readings from body language that will help you make better choices and ultimately make you a better poker player. So let's start with signs of nervousness. Number 1. The most common signs are touching face in a soothing way or a comforting manner in order to tackle the stress and nervousness or the intensity the player is feeling. It could be because the player doesn't have a good hand, or it could be because he or she is in a situation where they have to make a decision. And another sign is lip biting or tongue showing, now these signs are very subtle. They're not gonna be there for very long. Stress can also be read from the forehead, so there's also a basic way. Now let's talk about a few signs that indicate a bad hand. The player is card touching a lot. By that I mean the player is touching or shuffling the cards in a risky manner, which usually means the cards aren't of much value to him. Therefore he doesn't really care much if it gets revealed, or it's an human instinct to not care about something that you don't find valuable. So you look out for a player handling the cards in a more risky way, or not protecting the cards. So that is a big tell. Also, looking at their cards more often and double checking is also another sign. The player might be always trying to check the card with the flop or the river or the turn, keeps on checking the cards. He's always looking at the cards, always looking at the flop and stuff, because normally when you have good cards you probably keep your cards face down in protection, and you don't really have to look at the cards anymore much because you know you have a good hand. And when it matches, or when you hit a card with the flop or something, then it means you're probably not gonna double check that either. The most common thing that people do is to try to look away from the cards, act like the cards aren't the thing, or the action isn't on the cards. The cards didn't work in some sense, but the cards are working. Looking at the flop or the card as they are dealt are also a sign of bad cards. They keep staring at the flop is also a sign that the cards didn't work. Now let's talk about the signs of a good hand. Number 1 is trying to give signs and show that they have nothing. If anyone really had a bad hand, they try to give us as less signs as possible. The only reason they are trying to give us the opposite signs are because they have something. When people are going out of their way in order to give you something or tell you something, that means that the opposite is true, and you shouldn't really fall for that. Also, they will act disinterested or sad at the whole hand or even the game to show that there is no action for him or her in this hand. The player might also change leg position to something more comfortable and relaxing. They might move forward to the table or sit in a more relaxing way, yet also protecting the card at the same time. And cards will always be under protection and won't be looked at much. The cards might be secured with a chip or other objects, or maybe with their hands, but also players tend to act a little differently. They might start talking about something very irrelevant to the table, or start being nicer to everyone. They'll just be a little different, and those are very good ways of understanding that the player is trying to hide something. Another thing that people do is looking at the chips and then looking away. It means that the player tend to bet or raise and therefore has a good hand. So those are all good indicators of a very good hand. Now let's talk about signs of bluffing. Number 1, when a player tries to bluff, he will usually do unusual things that people know him can identify. Extra of anything the player never does or he never saw do, like a fancy hand move or playing with the chips or cards, anything that isn't normal. Definitely there is something wrong, and the player is trying to convey something. The player might also stare at you. Staring means wishing you to do the right thing. Usually they want you to fold. It's like the ball's on your court now they're waiting for you to do something good for them. Looking at you and looking away is also another sign. A sign of nervousness and unwilling to give you signs. They're trying to hide something, which is they're bluffing. Crossed legs or nervous leg position can also indicate bluffing. If their legs are shaking all of a sudden, or doing something that people do when they're less comfortable, those are all signs of bluffing. And trying to tidy things up and organize messy chips or arrange things those are also tells. A lot of people do that. Usually the player is trying to show that everything is okay for him, but not really. He's trying to convey the opposite, that everything is under control, everything is organized and perfect for him, yet it's not really the case. The thing is not engaging with distraction. The player don't want to bring any attention to him or herself, might stop doing the things that she was doing before, which brought a lot of attention to the player. So the player might stop engaging with anything that is gonna bring attention. It's gonna try to become invisible in some sense. If you're playing with people who just learned about poker or just don't play poker so much or isn't very serious about poker, then the tips might work for you. And now here's some basic tells and tips. Now trust the first reaction that you have after you see someone see the card. Do not trust the second reaction. First reaction is more natural and out of control. The second reaction is acting. Now this is what repeating. If they're focused on their chips, they have a better hand, and if they're focused on their cards or keep looking at their cards time after time, they usually have a bad hand. If a player is making quick calls, it means she is waiting for something to happen, waiting for a draw or a straight or like a flush or something. If people have a pair or a high card, they take a few seconds to think if it's enough to make a call. So making immediate calls is a sign that the cards are still nothing and might be something later. They can also bluff the river, so watch out for that and try to look out for other signs. If you bet and the other player have to think about it for a long time, it means that the bet was good and the player is in a bad situation and is thinking about folding. So yeah, those were very common poker tells and body language leading. They all apply for the majority and it's very important to understand while playing poker. So thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you guys again in the next video.